Hey everybody, Edo here, and I am super excited because I have Amy Baio on the line. Say hello, Amy.
Hello.
And Amy is the founder, designer from Pink Tiger Games, and I'm super excited about your line. Like, I would sort of think of them as social party games. Is that actually like how you describe them? How would you describe the types of games you make?
Yeah, that's exactly what I say. I call them social, conversational party games because my games are all very sweet and kind, and sometimes party games, maybe in the mainstream, can be a little mean, in a good way, where people like to, rile each other up a little, and mine are more sweet and kind.
Yeah, I think for not everyone may be familiar with your games. I became familiar with them because I think we met at Gamma or a different convention, and I saw I was drawn to the aesthetic and what was going on. But like some of these games, whether it's You Think You Know Me, a conversational card game, or Flatter Me, a compliment battle card game, Lost for Words, like these are all really interesting, different perspectives on games. And to start things off, like normally I'll ask a question like, "How did you get into games?" And so maybe can you talk about how you got into games and designs, but also this very specific or unique take on this sort of social conversational party game and what you're trying to accomplish with it?
Yeah, I just had the idea for You Think You Know Me pop into my head one day. It was 6 years ago, and it was came at a total surprise to me. I've always loved conversation and sort of questions and one-on-one stuff, as well as just going a little deeper. We're just finding out weird stuff about people, just like the things that might be just quirky or different that maybe don't come up in your regular everyday conversations. And just being curious about each other. Like, I feel like it's such a gift to be open-minded and look at the people even that we're closest with, that we're around all the time, and see them in a new way and realize you don't know maybe everything that you think you know. And that's really lovely because it gives a place to, for people to grow and to change. And so when the idea for You Think You Know Me came in my head, I was like, okay, the cards would be I know cards, and you would just make an assumption about, other players. And I was like, in the subject matter, it could be all of these different things from, silly food preferences to deeper life stuff. So I began just by writing on paper and playing with my friends, and I quickly saw that people had fun with the cards that I had created and the structure that I had created, and there were winners, but everyone was really excited about playing, and it wasn't really about winning, but of course it's still a game, so there's of course a win state, and I was hooked. So that's the very condensed story. So that was in May of 2017. And then by September 2017, I had a successful Kickstarter.
Right, and so that's the basically your path in here. You felt you had this idea, this sort of player experience conversation need that you were trying to drive at. You started making, you did the cards, you made a game out of it, you were playing it, people were enjoying it, and then that 4 or 5 months later, you were up on Kickstarter with your first title. Did you was it like, I guess a question I would have is like, at the time, were you familiar with Kickstarters and games in general and part of the scene and like on BGG or whatever, or was how did you connect the dots to get to that next
Yeah,
place?
I knew nothing. I knew nothing. What I did have access to is my husband was the first CTO of Kickstarter. So, I mean, he had run successful Kickstarters as well as been part of the company for the first, I don't know, it's foggy now. It's been like 85 decades. I don't know. He was with Kickstarter, and we were friends with the people who started it, all of that. And then in 2012 is when my husband started a festival here in Portland, Oregon, where we live, called XOXO. And XOXO Fest was a conference and festival to celebrate independent artists from around the world who worked independently. So anyone that did podcasts or music or video games or tabletop games, writers, all different kinds of people would come to Exos. We had talks, we had music nights, we had podcast nights, we had tabletop nights, we had
Awesome.
um, independent
Is
video
it
games.
still running?
No, I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
pandemic, like, yeah, ouch, right? It's so sad. It was an amazing, amazing time. So I was around all of these creators, and my husband and his business partner, who's also named Andy. So Andy and Andy made XOXO. And, I helped, but, it's their thing. And so when I had the idea for You Think You Know Me, I was like, Andy, we like know people, right? Who do stuff. And he was like, yeah, but I don't know he was like, I don't know how to make a game. And I was like, well, neither do I, but I really, really wanted to do this. So I just reached out to the community, and everyone was amazing and helpful. And then I slowly learned. But even BGG didn't come till later for me, until like maybe, I mean, I think people told me to get on, but I don't think I really did
Well,
until
yeah, it's sort of
later.
a little bit of a different scene. When you're talking about community, do you mean your local community or Facebook or like Twitter? Like what communities did you latch onto first?
That's a really good question. So, XOXO Fest and Andy and Andy were just, really big on Twitter. So when that was when Twitter was a good
Call
place,
it Twitter.
yeah, called Twitter, and a good place to be. Yeah, we had so many friends and people who'd come to XOXO who, like I said, worked in all these interdisciplinary things that were super creative. So once Andy even put out there that I was making a game and putting it on Kickstarter, I got a write up in Boing Boing, and this and that, and so it just really helped. So I think I asked for 15,000, and I got like 28-ish, and for a party game in 2017, it was rad. It was amazing, and it really was conversational. I didn't even I don't even know if I pushed the word party in anything I did. So yeah, that was the beginning of it all.
Yeah, so it looks like because while I was like going on Kickstarter to check it out while we were talking, but you have this connection, you have this familiarity, you know people, but you start engaging the scene, and then you release your Kickstarter, you exceed your funding. It looks like these games are predominantly cards, so like a reasonable thing to work off of, and it looks like you've continued, right? Like as far as I can tell, each of these games have of your titles have been through the sort of Kickstarter process. A lot of projects we love, by the way. Good, you got a good hit rate with that. But but I met you at Gamma. So like, how talk? Can you talk through? So I mean, because people who listen to this are typically designers or Kickstarter creators or early, independent publishers. So, you have, and it was a while ago, but I think a lot of this is still relevant as you've continued. But you had the small initial success. Like, can you take us a little bit through, how that led to your next game and how you built on your audience and how you sort of joined Gamma and that kind of, like, can you take us a little bit through that journey?
Yeah, so the summer of 2017, when I was playtesting You Think You Know Me, I knew I wanted to do a game about compliments too. So Flatter Me was already sort of in my head, and I was already sort of writing it. It was inspired by the sort of kind messages that my friends and I would send each other just via, group texts. And I was like, how can I gamify this? And so I turned Flatter Me, a compliment battle card game, into you just play like the classic card game of war and throw down compliments. And there's also compliment party rules on my website now, so you can play with more than two people. So that was in my head, and in March 2018 is when You Think You Know Me came out. By that time, a publisher had reached out to me. We went back and forth with a contract, but I wasn't happy with it, so I decided to just keep on going indie, even though I did not know what I was doing. I felt like I just wasn't sure that I wanted to give up that much straight away.
Sure.
And at that point, I was only offered like $1 per game, and so that just didn't feel right to me in that time. And later I would question that decision again and again until my business and the audience grew, and then I was like, okay, I made the right choice. I felt even from the jump in 2017, I was like, let's just see slow and steady if people like what I make, because that's what Kickstarter is for too, just kind of
Sure.
building. So in fall of 2018, I thought it would be a good idea to do like an adult version of You Think You Know Me called the Peach Pack, and it was not a good idea. And I had a failed Kickstarter, but I learned a lot from that because I wasn't really true to myself when I made that. I kind of had to stretch out of my comfort zone. It really wasn't sort of in my wheelhouse. And what was strange is my You Think You Know Me backers were like, what are you doing? Like, this is like, we're playing this with our kids. And I did gather up some other new fans who were like, when are you going to put this out? And I'm like, probably never. Because again, I just wasn't being true to myself. I thought that's what you should do. Do you know,
Sure.
in 2018, I was like, isn't this what you're supposed to do is
The
put out,
not safe for work versions.
yeah, aren't you? I don't know. So I really, it was a rough time. It was very stressful because no one wants to fail at anything, but like I did learn a lot from it. And then I didn't finish Flatter Me and really get it out until I launched that Kickstarter at the start of the pandemic in March 2020. So that
Wow.
was really rough. Yeah, yeah. So we were all stuck at home, and I was asking for money on Kickstarter. Do not recommend. That felt terrible. But I loved my game so much. Every time someone backed or would, repost it, I was just like, crying. It was very emotional. So I was very happy that Flatter Me, was funded, and then it came out in August in 2020 and really well received. And so by early of 2021, like Danny Lowe was posting Flatter Me cards on Twitter and giving them to people, and I heard other people were doing it too, and like doing videos. People were doing videos and showing a Flatter Me card and giving a compliment to someone, and people were like, "This is the game we need after we've been separated for so long," and it was just that was beautiful and super special to me. And all during that time, I was researching my third game, which was Rabbit Rabbit, a game of superstitions. So it's myths, magic, and folklore trivia. So I did that Kickstarter early-ish 2021. And by summertime, I had heard that Gamma was doing their first Horizons Fellowship, and they're asking people to apply who were from underrepresented groups in the tabletop industry. And I was like, there's no way they're going to care about my sweet little, card games, my compliment battle, and my conversation and superstitions. But I got to be a fellow, and so that changed everything for me. Like, I got meetings with PSI, and then I was signed with PSI by January of 2022. And then because of the fellowship through Gamma, they got me a booth in Reno at the
Oh,
trade
that's right.
show. They paid for everything. It was just a giant, lovely gift of an experience.
So
And
let's.
yeah,
Do let me interrupt you for a second.
yeah.
Let's talk. And I feel like I don't know if that season was the one where I participated, and maybe I saw your name, or maybe it was the next year, and you came back as a guest. I don't remember which year I was supporting that program as like a, I don't think I was a mentor, but as like a industry commentator, some whatever the different classes are. But like I think we should take a moment and talk about that program because I don't know if everyone knows about it, and I think it's still active.
Yes.
And so this is a mentorship, guidance, support. I mean, actually, since you participated in it as an actual fellow or whatever it's called, can you speak to what the program a little bit more generally, actually?
To give everyone a good timeline, no matter when you're watching this, as far as I know, it will always be like June, July of the year that they're doing it is when they're accepting applications. And by end of August, early September is when all the applicants are notified whether they got a spot in the fellowship. And the fellowship includes publishers. I think they have a media cohort this year too, as well as retailers. I think that those are the three. And then, and then the meetings start around September, and you meet monthly as a big group with either all the publishers and all the retailers, or sometimes we met all together. You do get a specific mentor that is just for you, so you can email them. You can set up your own meetings with them. And it's just to facilitate, an ease into the industry. So whatever you need, like you have a group of people who are there to support you. There's a Facebook group that's private for everyone who's been a fellow and who's mentored and done all those things. So once a month or so, you have meetings all the way through up until Gamma. And Chip Theory Games funds a lot of it too. So you get, forgive me, it was 2 years ago. I think I got something like $5,000. No, maybe not 5,000. Maybe it was like $2,000, and somebody else won 5,000. At the end, somebody else won some more money, and then Chip Theory paid for our entire booths. So basically, it was like they were telling us what we would need. Get a backdrop, get signs,
Right.
tablecloth, get everything that you need, and they just paid for all of it. It was tremendously great because I don't think I would have ever understood or made that big leap on my own.
And right, and so this is a program that you apply to, and the charter is to help support independent publishers gain access to the world of board gaming, and they assemble a variety of folks, media publishing, design, to retail rather, to help provide that guidance, support, insight, knowledge to sort of jumpstart these groups, and oftentimes I don't know if it's exclusively underserved groups or just a component of it, but folks who aren't don't have the type of insight and access, and to help shuttle them through and help them engage the community. And so you go through this program, they help you out. It sounds like you were also got a grant or a prize or whatever it was called,
I think
which is
everybody
meant
got like a couple $1,000 at least, and then of course got the booth, and then at the very end, one publisher and one retailer won like an extra 5,000 to seed their company some more. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And so you go through this, and whether or not that's when I met you at Gamma or not, I don't remember years anymore, but so you've continued to do these Kickstarters, but the most recent of which was Cloud9, right?
Yes, Cloud9, a game of wonderful things.
And so can you so you did that, but I think you were mentioning that that's going to be in retail, right?
Yeah, Cloud9, I have it right here. It just arrived. It just went out to all the Kickstarter backers, and it is going to be exclusive to Barnes & Noble until the end of the year. So that's really...
that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Like I don't have any exclusive Barnes & Noble titles.
I've
But
never
so
done that before. It's
how,
amazing.
and so can you talk a little bit about, the Kickstarter, and your Kickstarter wasn't, I mean, respectfully, it wasn't like some huge Kickstarter.
No, you should say that. That is very true. My Kickstarters aren't your six-figure, anything to like freak out over. My Kickstarters are humble, and luckily, knock on wood, the reach is wide afterwards for me.
And so can you speak a little bit to, was it through that how did you, I mean, I know PSI works with Barnes & Noble. Was it through PSI? Like, how did you connect the dots to have an appealing, attractive title with a small audience? How did that become a Barnes & Noble exclusive, to the extent you can explain?
Sure. In summertime of 2021, before I knew that I got into the fellowship program, I had been reaching out, and I talked to PSI, and they were interested, and it just sort of like, I didn't want to be pushy, so I kind of just let it drop, and they seemed interested. Like, it was one of those kind of back and forths where I just wasn't really sure. And I was like, do you want to talk to me? Like, my third game is coming out. Is that enough games for PSI? Like, there's always been all these question marks. Like, what are the magic numbers, or what are the things I need to check off before I can have meetings with so-and-so?
Right.
So, but by January, I had done everything I could on my own at that point. I literally had 7 pallets of games delivered to my home in November 21. 7 pallets. Like,
That's a lot. That's a lot of games.
Yeah.
I mean, and at the size of that game, I mean, how many Is
Well,
that like
that
5,000?
that was a lot. That was like replenishing. You think you know
Oh,
me, flatter me,
oh,
and
okay.
rabbit rabbit. Like no, I think it. No, I think the seven palettes where you think you know me and rabbit rabbit. You think you know me again. Knock on wood has always just done really well. People really love it, which is just so cool. So signed with PSI in early 2022 and knew that I just had to have a partner. I needed a distribution partner. I needed to get the games out
For
of my
sure. I know what it's like.
so then when I was at Gamma in March, actually about a week before, PSI was like, there's a meeting that opened up with Barnes& and Noble with the buyer. Do you want to take it? We have to know like right now. And I was like, yes, I will take that meeting. Yes, yes. I don't care if I have anything else scheduled. Yes. So that meeting ended up being just extraordinary. Like I can't overstate it. It was one of the most special moments of my life. It just really was. It was with three people from PSI and the buyer from Barnes and Noble, and we played all four of my games at the time. We played Lost for Words, a game of untranslatable feelings, Flatter Me, You Think You Know Me, and Rabbit Rabbit. And we finished with Flatter Me, and everyone was kind of giving each other compliment cards at the table. And all of a sudden I looked up and everyone was crying. Like it was so moving. I like even talking about it sometimes I don't want to like forget that how magical it felt in that moment. It felt so special. And one of the people at the meeting took off glasses and like wiped away tears, and they were just like, Amy, what you have here is so special and so magical. And they're like, and I do not mix business and personal. And like, I had to put my head down because I was going to start sobbing because it felt so validating that what I've been making and putting my heart into, other people just saw and felt and saw, and they just were experiencing it themselves. When, I create everything in my home and just follow my heart and my gut and make what I want to make. And yeah, it was really neat. So because of that really special meeting, I think after that, Barnes& and Noble ordered You Think You Know Me, Flatter Me, and Rabbit Rabbit. And then it was like, well, I have Cloud9 coming out, and now it's going to be exclusively theirs for the season.
It's quite an amazing story.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it's worth drawing out some of the things you've expressed in the call around following your passion or what resonates with you, and then whether it's via Kickstarter or some other bootstrap, finding the audience and connecting with the audience, and then that how maybe that starts slow, maybe it grows further, but if there's that honesty and integrity of a vision of what you're creating, you can find your tribe, right? You can find the folks who, or maybe it's a huge tribe, maybe it's a nation, right? But you can find the folks that really, resonate on that same chord, right? Or whatever. Too many analogies. But the point is, I think it's a powerful thing. And I think there are a lot of creators who, not everyone's going to have the same success as everyone else ultimately, right? But there are those creators who reach those tough moments where they're passionate about what they're doing, but they haven't connected with that audience or found those other folks that enjoy it. And so I think it's both powerful to be successful in that, but also to understand that it's a process, and sometimes it's going your way and sometimes it isn't.
Absolutely. You never, ever know. I drove up to PAX West this last weekend to be on a panel and to play test the new game. And I said to my husband, I was like, I just look at it, this whole thing, as that I'm just enjoying all the moments because nothing is promised ever. And I just feel really lucky. And this is what I'm going to keep trying to do,
Yeah.
If things land, amazing. If they don't land, then I'll just have to move on from it. Like you'd never know.
Totally. And so, and speaking about, keeping on going, like not only do you have this game, and just for what it's worth, is it called Cloud9 or Cloud9 something? Just Cloud9?
Yeah.
And like just because I'm curious, like what's the brief? What's the social conversation in Cloud Nine?
Yeah. Cloud Nine, a game of wonderful things. You are collecting your top 9 things that make life amazing, wonderful, special to you. It was inspired actually by a post that Eric Lang made on Facebook in early July in summer of 22. He posted that he said 3 things that make me feel unreasonably excited. And he's like, new socks, hot sauce, and YouTube reaction videos. And I was like, and I just sat there on my little phone and saw his Facebook post, and I was like, wait, I was like, we all have things that like oftentimes are within reach that make us feel really grounded, really connected, really wonderful, happy to be alive in that moment. And so I built a game around it. So in Cloud Nine, you're collecting your top 9, and there's also action cards in there. And my favorite action card is the wind.
Okay.
The wind blows everything away. So then you have to like start over again with the board, and you have to, because you make a sky grid out of your cloud cards, is what I call them. So every wonderful thing is a cloud card, like hammocks or campfires, rooftops, skateboarding, hot sauce, new socks, all these things.
Sure, sure.
And so each card has a thing, and it has also a question or a few questions. So if you want to go deeper, if you're playing one-on-one, you can do that. You can answer the questions or not. Or if you want to challenge someone and you want to be like, wait, do you really like this? Like you can, open that up some more. And Cloud Nine, I love it because you can play it really sneaky and you can steal things, or you can play it really sweet. So it really depends on who you're playing with. And all my games are 14 plus, but like there's no inappropriate,
Sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to check it out. And like that was a segue, but I wanted to be like, I don't actually know anything about Cloud Nine. But setting that one aside, you're also doing a new Kickstarter, right? Coming up, but this one's called Hurt Party, right? So like, what's going on with Hurt Party on the nice scale?
Yeah, this feels like a little bit of a departure, but overall, so Hurt Party is a game of bad apologies. And there are hurt cards and apology cards, and the apology cards, they range from sweet, authentic apologies that are direct and kind, but most of them, yes, are bad, and they're like, not even apologies. Things like "you'll be fine,"
Sure, sure.
or I guess I'm sorry, things like that. So, and it looks like a cake. So this is my big, huge prototype. I made a really big one so I could, play test it. So, and it looks like cake, which I'm so stoked about. And
Awesome.
yeah, the art is by Betty Turbo, and she just did a really cool job.
Awesome. And so when do you have a date for that Kickstarter?
I don't have a date. I'm saying January for now. So I want to play test through PAX Unplugged, carry it around with me. And right now I'm sort of in that spot where, sorry.
Don't worry, Ben.
Right now I'm in that spot where I want to love every card in the box. That's kind of always my thing. So with all of my games, my test whether something is done is if you can open up any of these boxes and pull out a card, and I feel like it is true to the game. Like they all have to stand on their own, and so that's where I'm at with Hurt Party. But I know I was ready to like show people the art because I also played it at PAX West, and so I mean people saw it and people like took photos of it. So I was like, well, I don't want to be the last one to put a photo out, right now.
Yeah. Well, I like that quote. I want to love every card in the box. I think that's an aspiring take on taking something from 80% to 100% right there. Well, so and so what an adventure. So certainly hope that Cloud9 is a hit, and as well as Hurt Party. And I think you already have your landing page, right?
Yes.
I will. I'll link the landing page for those who want to be curious about it. I think to close, like, again, looking back on yourself over the last, hold on, 17, 18, 20, 6 years, trying to do math. What if you were going to talk to somebody who was a prospective designer, or if you were a mentor in the fellowship program, you were giving some starting advice to bright-eyed, upcoming new person entering the board game space. Like what would your advice be? What would it be? A few things you'd suggest to that person?
A few things I would suggest is always stay true to yourself. For one, always stay true. Just make what you want to make and be true to you. Because when you make something you love, it will resonate out to people, whether that's two people or more than two people. It doesn't matter. Just make what you love. Enjoy that whole journey of making something that you love. And you won't love it every day, of course, but like you should love it most of the time.
Right.
Yeah. Um, and two, like this community of people in gaming and every aspect of it, from designers to big publishing houses to the distributors to the people doing media, like everyone is lovely. Everyone wants to help. Like there's no door has ever been closed. It doesn't feel like every door has been open. So I try to do the same. People DM me, people email me. If I have time, I always make time to talk to people. I'll at least email them or make sure I send them a DM back if I can be of any help in any way. I'll direct them to someone else if I know that I just don't know. There's plenty I don't. So yeah, I would say be true to yourself and reach out. Don't be shy. And if someone doesn't answer you, that's okay. You never know why someone doesn't answer. You just go to the next person and talk to the people you admire because they're probably great. They're probably lovely, you know?
Awesome. I that advice resonates with me. I think my experience in the board game space is that there are tons and tons of folks that are happy, eager, and very open with their time and interested in helping folks out. But yeah, I think great advice. Thank you so much for your time. Again, best with all these games.
Thank you. Thanks for taking time with me.
Absolutely. Bye.
Hey everybody, Edo here, and thanks for watching Gaming with Edo. Reviews over here on this playlist, League and Insider videos over here on this one. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But most importantly, play some great games. Thanks.